a lot of you think George was a wonderful, loving person. He called our friend Bruce, and he called me, and he called Gladys every morning at 6, it didn't matter, 4:35, called Bruce's wife, he didn't care, and he'd say, how's Gladys? Even to Gladys, probably. But the thing is, you thought he was a loving person, and let me tell you, he hated everyone. I just said that to be funny, but he really, one day I was on a Zoom show, this is my last story. I was on a Zoom show with Ziggy and Bruce, and George was my coach at the time, my comedy coach, and I said, so George, how'd you like it? Like a little kid. He said, and when George gave you a compliment in your comedy, it was a big deal. So he says, you tell Ziggy, George said he did great. Okay, you tell Bruce, George said he did great. That's all he says. I go, how about me, George? He said, like I said, you tell Ziggy, George, thank you, great. And that's the truth, that really happened. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I thank you very much for only giving us 2 minutes to speak about George, because I really got to pee so bad. I got to go really bad. Anyway, George and I had a very, look, people ask me how I am. I say, I'm 73 years old. I can only get background jobs in acting, and I'm still doing open mics. So how the fuck do you think I feel? Right? How do you think I feel? All right? George was my good friend. He was also my nemesis. Because George always did better than me. If I did good, he did great. If I did great, he did greater. So that's it. Maybe it's because of you. Maybe because he had you as a guy. I don't know. I'm 73. George Saltz was 88. So he's old enough to be, I guess he's old enough to be my father if we lived in Alabama. When they marry their cousins, but they don't allow abortion. That's okay. It's all right. No, so George, I do gotta pee. Hey, what's your name?
Gersh.
Get the fuck out of the way when I'm done, please. There's gonna be a trail going right through the room. Yeah. So I could be the next to go. You don't know. I'm 73. It'll be over for me.
Or you're next to go to the bathroom.
No, unless you get in my way. So you got to move too. But you know what? Speaking about George, I never really liked. I don't know why I do comedy. And from the lack of laughs, you don't either. I got a couple of laughs, but George always did better than me. But you know what? George loved it. George loved comedy. He loved it so much. And I have this love-hate relationship with comedy. I don't like the clubs, I don't like to sit next to people, I don't like to talk to people, I don't like looking at people, I don't have to go out, I don't need the money, I have enough money to last me the rest of my life, unless I want to buy something, that's about it. But George loved it. I remember, and Gladys was sitting there, we were sitting, oh look, this is the only thing about me that's still stiff in my hand. It's got a little bend in it. We were sitting at the table. It was Russia. You're a rabbi, right? Weren't you a rabbi from this funeral? It was the eve of either Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, and I did something. I saw a doctor, and I was on my way to temple, but I knew that they were so I stopped in here, and I came in, and Gladys and George were sitting there. Now 90% of George's act was Jewish stuff. It was Jewish. He was like, he won the Jewish Comedy Award. So that was his. So I walk in and I said, oh, George, I said, you gonna do a show tonight?
1 minute warning.
Thank you. It's Yom Kippur, George. You gonna do a show tonight? You're gonna go to the temple? He goes, this is my temple. And I said, you know what? This guy's out of his fucking mind. I hate you, George. You do half your act is all Jewish and you won't even go to synagogue. But the thing was that he loved it. He did. And you got to give a guy credit for that.
Okay.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open the bathroom door.
Here he goes. Running through.
Wait, I got to
watch the cord.
Him now. Thank you.
you know, he lived. I lived in Ardsley in Westchester, and it's a very well-to-do neighborhood. People drive fancy cars. They have these fancy dogs, these combination dogs. You know, these Labradoodles and Macas, whatever. And you know, I want to go into business, you know, for the company that needs it. Like the Jewish nursing home has a problem with these old men go out spazieren. They walk around after breakfast and they get lost, and they have to be rescued. So I'm going to have scientifically engineered Goldman retrievers. Anyway, George helped
For all the
me.
stories. If you listen to their tales, their whole childhood consisted of 5 guys sharing a single nickel to buy 2 packs of baseball cards, 3 egg creams, 2 Charlotte Russes, and still have money left over to ride a trolley to McCarran Park to get beaten up by the Italian kids. That's their whole childhood. I'm right? Anyway, but of the group, and my father is in there, and he's going to be seeing this, so he won't be embarrassed. Of the group, George was obviously the most talented, and I say that even if you've seen his act. But you know George, he used to close his acts, and I will close my little bit, with his version of, obviously, Havemeyer Market. You guys remember him singing this. It's to the tune of Old Man River, right? We got some Yiddish speakers in the house? No? Okay, well, we'll work it out. Anyway, I'm going to start it. You'll know when to join in. Here we all work in the Havemeyer Market. Here we all work at Zois Affairs. Like dogs. But the big boss, he's spelled in Kuten, playing cards. And the big boss, I have him in dread. I hate him. Let's go away from the Havemeyer Market. I'm not doing his accent justice, I know. And open our delicatessen store. We'll sell Cokes, 7-Ups, and Peps. Sollten ist verschämen to losen euch mit der Grapes. Grapes. The food will be great. Eskes in the hate. The wine will flow like water with jedem Orte at mein Delikatessen. Mein Delikatessen at the Lansing Corner Clinton Street store.
I went to the hospital with him, and he was in about a year ago, and I was sick. And he said, I said, what do you want, George? He said, could you get in bed with me? I'm going to relax and sing Jewish songs with you. I said, okay, you know, so I went to bed with him, came home, and got a virus.
But you didn't get pregnant.
Well, that's true. That, you don't know that. So I think he's hearing us. I miss him.
But anyway, George, the first thing that I didn't get to perform on as many shows as I would like with George, but every time I did, it made me feel great because for once I wasn't the oldest comic on the show. And I just very quickly, I did a show in Brooklyn last week, and literally it was called Comedy of Eras, E-R-A-S, and very nice guy, Richard Chalfin, I've known forever, but it was age order. So they had a 35-year-old, 45, and I never, look, everybody wants to close the show. That's not the way I wanted to get it. Now the oldest person possible. Please welcome Scott Lee. So, anyway, but as Glenn said, I was honored that George took my workshop. I was doing a workshop in White Plains at the time. Must have been about, was it 2016 or 17 or something? But even before George got to the class, Gladys had already been mentoring, and this is familiar, for free, which she's done for so many people. And so, yes, I'm not that charitable. I actually charge. But anyway, I do some free. But I just do shows for free. But anyway, George came in. I have to say, I've never seen anybody who needed a workshop less than George Saltz, because even though he just started doing stand-up, as you know, his whole life he was performing. He told me he would do parties all along. And so the first couple of weeks, being a comedy teacher, I just point out a couple of things. He didn't listen. He didn't follow. And by the last few weeks, I just sat back and enjoyed George. And I felt I should have paid a cover charge to have him in the class. I've never seen, because his whole life he was honing his act. Even though when he was a therapist, and just he told me he would do parties and things. And so many impressive things. Number one, starting as late as he did, which is incredible, gives inspiring to everybody. And he started at a time of great sorrow in his life. His beloved wife, who was ill in the worst, possible way, and many people would have just, rolled over and just not done anything. He did the opposite. He stood up. And not only did it make him happy, the happiest he was probably his whole life, but it made all of us so happy. And as comics, you know this, no matter how well or a set is going, you need to close strong, right? You want to close strong. You want to go out in a big laugh. And I could all say so assuredly and be with you today that George Saltz went out on a big laugh, and he's still getting those laughs right now. And I'm so honored that I got to work with him, meet him, and know him as a friend. So, there you go. Thank you, George.
Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, now Constantinople, been a long time gone. Constantinople, now it's Turkish delight on a moonlit night.